This is TJ Jones, the host of the State of the Saints podcast. And the State of the Saints podcast is brought to you by Manscaped.com. For those that enjoyed the Lawnmower 3.0, well, I got news for you. The Manscaped engineering team has successfully created the Lawnmower 4.0. You heard that right, the Lawnmower 4.0. The leader in male grooming is taking it to the next level. Join the 6 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped for all their below-the-waist needs. Go to manscaped.com. Use the promo code STATEOFSAINTS and you will save 20% off on the Lawnmower 4.0 as well as other Manscaped items. That's manscaped.com. Hey, what's going on, Who Dat Nation? It is yours truly, TJ Jones, the host of the State of the Saints podcast. Thank you so much for checking out the State of the Saints podcast, where we talk New Orleans Saints. Want to say thank you to everybody checking out this podcast. I hope everyone had a great weekend. Hope that you enjoyed yourself. I hope that you were able to do some things that you wanted to do. But now it is time to talk Saints football. That's right. It is time to talk about the New Orleans Saints. There are some big decisions that should be coming up really, really soon for the Black and Gold as they try to trim down their roster to 53 players. We're also going to be talking about the main topic of this show, which is Trevor Penning's injury. We now know the severity of it, and we're going to be breaking that down and trying to figure out what the Saints should do in order for them to try to make up for the rookie's time that he's going to be missing. But shouts out to everybody in the chat. Actually, everybody, before you even get started, just let's go ahead and get this out of the way. Let's go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Make sure that that you let everybody know that you like the State of the Saints podcast. If you have not already, make sure you hit that subscription button. Also, hit that like button on your way in if you like what you're hearing here on the State of the Saints podcast. But before we get started, I'm going to go ahead and go to the live press conference. Coach Dennis Allen is at the podium, so we're going to listen to that, and then I'll come back and talk a little bit. All right, I guess we was having a little audio issue. I apologize for that. Guess you all couldn't hear it, so I apologize for that. I don't know why the audio wasn't working. I don't understand that, but anyway, if you want to check that out, that press conference, and then roll back over to the State of the Saints podcast, I would appreciate that. But let's go ahead and get started. Let's talk about Trevor Penning. For the few minutes that I did here, the first question was about Trevor Penning, and he said it was just a toe injury. He wasn't going to get too much into that. So, he's not disclosing any injuries, which I think is a good idea because the last couple of weeks, I seen Dennis Allen being a little bit more transparent, and Saints fans started to panic. Some of you started to panic. And every time like he would come out and say something about a certain player, hamstring or ankle, all of a sudden everybody jumping to conclusions, everybody just thinking the worst. So I like the fact that he's not going to disclose injuries because some of y'all Saints fans can't take that type of stuff. But anyway. But Trevor Penning, he was really starting to improve, and this is very disappointing. He's a guy that has improved from week to week. He has gotten better. That first drive that you saw, the New Orleans Saints drive down the field with Jameis Winston, Trevor Penning was doing a really good job, and it's unfortunate that he ended up getting injured with some friendly fire. It was Jarvis Landry kind of rolled over his foot, and it was just funny, the way that it planted at first. It kind of looked similar to Michael Thomas's injury, when I want to say, who was that? Latavius Murray, it rolled over his back of his ankle. It kind of looked kind of similar to that. But, as we know now, it's a turf toe injury. He messed the ligament up in his toe, so he has to get surgery. And he's going to be out for a couple of weeks. It's unfortunate, but the New Orleans Saints do have James Hurst, and from the sounds of everything, James Hurst most likely was going to be starting week 1 versus the Falcons anyway. The only downside about this is while Trevor Penning is actually healing, he won't be able to go out there to take snaps and to develop and get better. So the Saints have to wait for him to heal up from that foot in order for him to go out there to be productive. That is the biggest issue. But the offensive line, as you've seen, guys like Forrest Lamp, Derek Kelly, guys like that, what I'm saying? Like Derek Kelly, I want to say, is now no longer on the team. As far as Forrest Lamp, he's on IR. So the depth of the New Orleans Saints offensive line, as far as the backups, is getting a little thin. You still have Kidd, who's still here. You have Landon Young, who's also a part of the rotation. But I do think that the Saints need to get a little bit more depth on the offensive line. The way that I feel about this is this. You want to get depth on the offensive line, but I feel like you need to get yourself a seasoned veteran that understands the role. I don't think that you need to go out there. Like I'm hearing stories about Alex Leatherwood, the tackle from the Las Vegas Raiders. They're saying that he can possibly be, he could possibly be on the chopping block. He can possibly get traded, or they can easily release him. Guy like Alex Leatherneck going into what is like his 3rd season in the NFL, I don't think that is worth a trade. I think in that type of situation, it would have to be like, Trevor Penning is going to be out for the season, and you don't have a guy like James Hurst. My solution is you going out to get a guy, like a Eric Fisher, like a Nate Solder, a guy that's a seasoned veteran that understands, that it's more like a bridge, right? You're a bridge player. I don't think anybody wants to look at themselves that way. They feel if you give them opportunity, they're going to knock it out the park. But you have yourself a young offensive lineman. It's not like Trevor Penning is just god awful. I mean, we see the improvement. We see the talent. We see the ability. That's a big guy, and he's physical, and that's what you want on the offensive line. So it's not like you made a mistake when it comes to the draft. I mean, he's gotten better every single week. His run blocking is spectacular. And if you look at the way the Saints were playing on Friday, you can tell that the Saints want to put emphasis on the run. So he's going to look really, really good, especially if that is what he does best. Blocking for guys like Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram. But getting somebody like a Eric Fisher, a Brian Bulaga, or, somebody like that, somebody that's been in the league for quite some time, I think that would be the solution. James Hurst being out for those couple of weeks, I feel like he should be ready to rock and roll week one. But my main concern is what would plague this offensive line throughout last season. And that was the fact that you start seeing guys get hurt. And I just got to be real. When you look at guys like Andres Pete, who's constantly hurt, you got to be a little bit concerned about that. Eric McCoy missed a couple games last year, but it's not like he just constantly missed games. Cesar Ruiz, like him or not, the guy was steady. He was out there every single week. So it's not like, you should have an issue with him when it comes to attrition. And Ryan Ramczyk, he missed a few games, but that's not something that happens every single season. The left tackle position is something that the Saints need to pay attention to. And you also need a guy that's going to be able to be a swing guy across the offensive line. Now, you can easily do something like maybe put Andres Pete, on the outside at left tackle and, put somebody else at the guard position. We've seen him play the left tackle position a couple times throughout his career. Wasn't terrible. He wasn't supposed to be the best. If he was the best, that probably would be his primary position. But you have some ways that you can kind of maneuver some things around. But I think that you need to bring in a seasoned veteran to be able to be on that offensive line. Another guy that can look at is Cameron Tom. Cameron Tom was released by the Philadelphia Eagles on today. So this gives him an opportunity maybe to come back to New Orleans Saints. I mean, they're familiar with the player. They know what he can do. He was one of those guys that they can add on the offensive line. And that's the reason why they brought back Derek Kelly for a short period of time, because they were familiar with him. So maybe a guy like Cameron Tom would be a guy they need to look at. I mean, you have some other guys out there. Of course, once again, I mentioned Brian Bulaga, Nate Solder, Eric Fisher. Even though I heard Eric Fisher, he turned down like 9 teams. But unless you're thinking about retiring or you don't want to play the game anymore and you don't feel like it's worth it, then I would say, you have to look at where you are if you want to continue to play in the National Football League and take advantage of the opportunities that present itself. And not to mention, you can go to a team like the Saints that are a playoff contender, and you never know what can happen in the playoffs. So that's the way I look at it. I just think they need more depth on the offensive line. I like the fact how the New Orleans Saints are kind of overcompensating, like how they're trying to add more depth, at different positions, because that was something that the Saints struggled with last season. They didn't have enough guys on the team when a guy goes down to be as productive. Now, you're not going to be more productive as the starter. There's a reason why those guys are starters. But to get somebody in there that's solid, that can hold down the fort until the starter gets back, the Saints struggle with that. So let's look at the offensive line, bring some guys in, maybe some veterans, and we'll see where we can go from there. But Trevor Penning is going to be out for some time. I mean, turf toe, a ligament issue, that's going to be you probably going to see him around November, December, in my humble guesstimation. Based on shouts out to Dr. Jesse Morris, shouts out to all our orthopedic surgeons. Some of y'all know Dr. Jesse Morris, who have been out here for quite some time. He's been on the show. He's a part of Fantasy Doctors. You check it out on YouTube. But, he breaks down these type of injuries, and dealing with that type of injury with the ligament damage, it's going to be a few months before, it heals. And then you got to get him back out there on the field and pick up where he left off. So it can be a little bit tough, man. It can be a little tough. And I expect to see him probably around November, December, if everything goes right. But it's going to be a few weeks before we see Trevor Penning. Let's see. Let's go to Keen Arthur. Keen Arthur says, TJ, what direction should we go in to supplement for left tackle until Penning is ready? I believe James Hurst will start regardless, but what player can we sign to protect Jameis? Well, James Hurst is the guy that you sign to protect Jameis. But like I said, adding some seasoned veterans, a guy that's not going to come in like, Alex Leatherwood. Like if this was one of those situations where you had James Hurst, right? Let's just say Teron Armstead leaves, and then you have James Hurst, right? And James Hurst has had a history of being injured. He's up there in age. He's been around for a while. Then I would say you would try to make a trade for a guy like Alex Leatherwood because he's young. And you get him with Doug Marrone. Maybe that is the answer to the problems that have plagued Alex Leatherwood since he's been in the league. or maybe the fact that it's Josh McDaniels' team and he doesn't like them. It happens, right? Coaches, when they come in, they want to bring their players in and they want to try to build their system. So it probably won't have anything to do with him. But I would say bring a guy like Leatherwood in if you didn't have Penning. But to know that you have a young guy who is going to be your left tackle for the foreseeable future, this is the guy that you drafted in the first round. So I assume that the Saints are going to ride this thing until the wheels fall off, or until if Trevor Penning, is not all he cracked up to be, which all indication says that he is. So I would add a veteran where, he comes in, maybe sign him to a year contract, kind of help to navigate the offensive line uncharted waters, and then, allow the rookie to come back, rather it's late on in the season or next year, and he just becomes the starter of the team. But that's the direction I would go in. Penning once back can be that extra jumbo package tight end for the ground and pound game, then next year full-time starter. Yeah, I mean, look, you're going to add him in. Like, even though he wasn't starting, I'm pretty sure the Saints were going to put him in certain situations just to get him out there to get that experience. So I didn't expect for him to just be standing on the sidelines throughout the entire season. But once again, James Hurst, he's solid, but he isn't winning that battle of attrition. So you have to account for that. You can't just say, okay, man, we're going to roll with James. And I mean, he's dealing with injury right now. Is the reason why we haven't seen him in the last couple of weeks. So you definitely want to bring somebody else in that you trust, have somebody that's already on the offensive line that can swing and move around and navigate a little bit. Like I said, like Andrews Pete, I say you may not like him, but I mean, he probably the most solid tackle outside of a guy like James Hurst that's on the team right now that for a fact can play that position. And you could probably slide somebody else on the inside at the guard position. So who knows? All right, but let's go ahead and slide down. Barbara says, got to find a competent left tackle to protect Winston blindside. Look, I mean, you have to understand, though, there are not many out there. There are not many out there that's going to give you, well, there's none out there that's going to give you that type of production that we're looking for. It's like a Teron Armstead or Tyron Smith or something like that. If you're looking for that, you're wasting your time. Because if that guy wouldn't even be out here, he'll be with a team. All right, so you're going to get a guy that's steady at best, or maybe like an aging tackle that teams probably say, well, we want to get younger at this position. That's what you're going to get. So you might have some situations where you're probably thinking to yourself, like, man, that man needs some help, because there are not many guys that are going to be out here that are going to be, Pro Bowl level tackles that's going to protect Jameis Winston's blindside. So you got to be able to make up for it somehow. What up? We have a mutual associate, Natalie Nightwolf. I've seen your Jersey icon on her channel. Okay. Well, man, thank you for being here. I appreciate that. And shouts out to Natalie. Appreciate you. Thank you for being here. I don't know if you're referring to me or someone else, but I assume you're talking to me. But Ray, thank you very much for being here. I'm over there. Okay, Jerry, but thank you, man. Appreciate it. Just let us know what went down, if anything of significance happened. TJ got them old red, yellow, and white cords plugged in. Now, I have the audio video plugged in. I don't know. It's sometimes, when I try to share different things, it just does not work. I think I have an idea why it didn't work. I'm pretty sure I know why, but it is what it is. It happens, man. It's live. Penning was improving by leaps and bounds. Yeah, he was. Now, that was a good thing. They released Derek Kelly, but he was looking decent Friday. Yeah, I mean, he was. But, I mean, look, you can always bring him back. And I'm pretty sure the way things are going, they probably will. Maybe they let him go, just like they let some of those other guys go, to give them opportunity to get ahead of the curve of maybe to go and walk on to a new team or get signed by a new team. So maybe this was it. I mean, he's not out of the woods yet. I mean, if he clears waivers, who knows? The Saints might bring him back. So, and sometimes they let these guys go to give these guys an opportunity. And if they're out there, then most likely a team will circle back, try to see if, with what they asking for. If Mills is released, he'll be perfect knowing his role. Yeah. That's why I don't play none of the guys till week 1. Yeah, I mean, that was the biggest concern I had. I talked to Ross Jackson on Friday before the Saints game, and I said that was one of my biggest concerns. My biggest concern was having those guys out there. Yeah, it's good to see them, right? From an optics standpoint, but I mean, the Saints won the game. And I hate to say it, nobody really cared. This is preseason. The only thing I mostly cared about was these guys staying healthy. The important players that are going to help this team. Well, all the players are important. I don't want to, just try to downgrade guys, but the starters, the ones that we're going to really truly be counting on to help this team make the playoff, get back to the postseason. I didn't want to see those guys going out there getting hurt over a preseason game that doesn't even matter at the end of the day. It's not going to add to your stats. It's not going to add to your resume. The only resume that it really adds to is those that are out there on the bubble, right? It gives you more film, more tape to show to other teams in order for you to get an opportunity, right? So I really wasn't a fan of it. I really wasn't. And honestly, I don't understand why he even played. I don't. Well, to a certain extent I do, but I don't, right? I don't understand why any of those guys played. Jameis threw the ball 4 times, went 4 for 4, and he looked pretty good. I didn't think that this was nothing that he couldn't have done week 1. But I will say this, the only positive, it's going to sound crazy, but the only positive about Jameis Winston starting is that hit that he took when he threw that pass to Jarvis Landry for 15 yards for a first down. That probably was the best thing to happen to him. Seriously, because I'm pretty sure you getting hit in the back of your mind, even though he said all the right things at the press conference, but in the back of your mind, just wondering if somebody hit me, what's going to happen with my knee? The way that he got hit, and if you look at it, his knee kind of bent in a little bit. So by him taking that hit, it just kind of, tells you okay, now I'm playing again. I'm good. I can trust myself. So that probably was the best thing to happen to him. Him throwing 19-yard passes, we know that he can do that. Him throwing, passes down the field, we know that he's capable of doing that. That hit that he took, I think that probably helped him tremendously. I'll tell you, I'll be honest. When I was playing sports, when I was playing football, it's gonna sound crazy as I don't know what. And I'm not comparing myself to a professional athlete, but I was on a field trip. It was in St. Bernard Parish. We went to this historical, plantation or something like that. And at lunchtime, we ended up eating outside. And at first, when I first got into sports and stuff like that, my biggest fear was getting hit. What if somebody really hit me and knocked me out cold or whatever? So this kind of shook my nerve. I was playing football with a couple of my friends, and I was in the middle of a conversation with one of them. We were talking about running a play, and I was looking at my friend face to face, who was a quarterback, and I turned around and I shot off. And when I shot off, I went smack dab into a flagpole. I'm talking about I hit that flagpole so hard, it was ooh, everybody out there from different schools, man, he all right? I don't think I ever got hit like that ever in my entire life. Ever. I never got hit like that in my whole entire life. And I was like, that is the hardest I can ever get hit. And after that, it didn't bother me. But I'm saying that when you have fears in the back of your mind, especially when it comes to contact, I think, getting hit or absorbing some type of shot will kind of help you, kind of shake that nerve. So that's probably was the best thing that happened to Jameis. As crazy as that sound, we ain't want to get hit, but in a way, I'm happy that he got hit and the way that he did, because it wasn't like he just got hit and the guy just pushed him down. The way he got hit, the knee that had the ACL surgery bent in. So it's You know, that's the best thing that happened to you. So, I mean, if a guy kind of like, you know, tackles you again, at least you know that your knee going to be able to hold up. So that's the best thing that happened. I didn't want to see him play, I'm going to be honest, but if he played and that happened and he didn't get hurt, probably the best thing that happened to him. Move over, Ryan. Swing Pete to left tackle. You mean move over Ryan to left tackle and swing Pete to right? Is that what you're saying? I don't know. I don't know if the Saints want to do that or not. You know, I do know that Ryan Ramczyk has like some type of incentive inside of his contract. Like if he moves over and plays left tackle, then the Saints have to pay him like a certain amount of money. But I mean, we don't know. Like maybe the Saints feel like they're comfortable with guys like James Hurst or being able to move some guys. But I just know, man. I mean, Ryan Ramczyk at his natural position, which is right tackle. I mean, why would you want to move somebody like that good? You know, he doing a real good job on that right side. So, I mean, I wouldn't want to disrupt his production, especially if you can get a guy like Pete, like I said, who's already been there. Like you may not like Andrews Pete, you may have issues with him as far as his offensive line play, but the dude has played like right tackle, guard, left tackle. I mean, the reason why he went to Stanford, you know, he's a smart guy. So I wouldn't mind, you know, if the Saints had to do that, I think he would be able to hold it down for a couple of weeks if something was to happen to James Hurst. But, you know, I think the best way you can solve this issue is to keep the guys where they are and sign somebody else that can back up James Hurst. That's what I would do. That's the way I feel. I think DA a mistake. Managed the reps with Penny. I seen him in games all the way in the third quarter. No, I think that was a smart thing, especially from the first game, Buki. You know, he played really well when it came to run blocking, but his pass protection needed work. And what's the best way a guy can learn? It's through reps. You know, so I can understand him playing him all the way to the third quarter because he needed that. He needed that, man. It's different. It's a difference between, you know, Alvin Kamara, Mark Ingram, like these guys are pros right here, right? You know, but a left tackle, you know, who struggles with guys who have different like type of pass rush moves and stuff like that. You need him to have that experience. And by teams rotating out defensive ends with different styles every single time, this gives him an opportunity to be able to go up against different guys, different builds, different styles, different ways to get to the quarterback. So I don't feel like that was a bad move. The more reps that he gets, the more experience he gets, the more film he can go back and take a look at with Doug Marrone to get better. So I'm not mad at that. But I think that he held up really, really well in the second game. And on that first drive, I mean, he was mauling guys. So it tells me that he's doing a really good job. And I'm pretty sure if he didn't get hurt, you probably wouldn't have seen him for the rest of the night. That was scary, the way his knee bent sideways. Yeah, it was. But once again, probably the best thing that happened to Jameis. Probably the best thing that happened to him. You know, I'm just glad he didn't get hurt. But once again, if you take a hit like that, that's the best way for you to be able to shake off those nerves that you probably had and skepticism about your knee. I took a trip back in third grade. Okay, we talking about in St. Bernard Parish. We talking about, I don't know if we're talking about the same place or not. But knowing Jameis' personality after he took that hit, he got his confidence back even more. Yeah, I think he did. You know, guys will never like, you know, show their hand. They'll never show their hand and be like, man, I'm hurt. I mean, but you know, I mean, he's human. He's human. You have a surgery like that, never been injured, never been out for that amount of time, and it's tough. It's real tough. So I would expect for him to have some nerves, but I'm pretty sure he shook it off as soon as like he probably took that hit. I feel you, TJ. People forget that mental healing is a major part of recovery. Derrick Rose was never the same when he came back because he didn't trust his knee. I'm glad Jameis got to feel that. Yeah, you know, that happens sometimes. You know, guys don't trust themselves. And, you know, it can cause them a lot of hardship. You know, you got to be able to trust the process. You got to be able to trust what, you know, the doctors have done. You got to be able to believe in yourself. You know, if you still think that you have to limp, most likely you're going to be walking around limping. right? So you have to be able to have this level of confidence, So I believe in Jameis, but I'm glad that, he took that hit and nothing happened to him seriously. Why did Dennis Allen have the starters in playing against the Chargers backups? Probably for experience, for them because they never for the exception of maybe that practice in Green Bay, they never were on the field as a cohesive unit. So he just wanted to give them a drive together, I guess. But it worked out. I mean, here's the thing. Like I said earlier, it's about optics, right? Now, we as fans, we believe that the New Orleans Saints offense was going to be pretty good. But looking at it firsthand and what the capabilities are, just seeing them running those plays, you have to believe, man, I'm even more confident. I mean, these guys had a scoring drive, a touchdown drive. They had 2 holding calls, 2 10-yard penalties, and they picked up 15 and 20 yards like it was nothing. And not to mention, you didn't even have Michael Thomas out there, which is a lot of people's deal breakers. Man, Michael Thomas ain't here. Still looking at Michael Thomas like it was last year. So you seen guys make plays, and Michael Thomas was nowhere in the area, right? You had your first-round pick, Chris Olave, with a 19-yard catch. You had, which we all expected, Jarvis Landry moving the chains. So from that perspective, I'm pretty sure for those that were excited about what this team can be, they're even more excited about what they know this team is capable of now. But I don't feel like it makes or breaks a team. I don't think it makes or break them. I haven't learned anything that I didn't already know. I didn't see anything that I wasn't capable of knowing based on the talent, the ability, and the guys that they have on this team. It didn't shock me at all. Does it shock you that Alvin Kamara moves the pile and he gets yards after contact? He's been doing that since 2017. Can Mark Ingram, find a hole or, be able to, still have some speed? I still believe that, maybe the offensive line, but I don't know. I think that all this excitement could have been held off to week 1. But hey, it happened, and I'm happy to see it. He's back mid-season, but yes, the future bright with him. Keeping it real, Who Dat Saints Sports Podcast. TJ, how you doing? I'm doing fine, man. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Man, I was on a podcast, Friday. So shouts out to y'all, man. I've been popping up on different Saints podcasts lately. Man, shouts out to all the Saints podcasters out there working hard and putting out great content. If you need anything or you have any questions in regards to your podcast, just hit me up. I try to help out as best as I can. I want to make people's podcasts and broadcasting, content as successful as possible. I'm always open to listen to what people want to do. And, if you have any questions about that, just hit me up and I'll be glad to help you. Majority of the starters, that was their first action. Yeah, pretty much. Guys like Marcus May and Tyrann Mathieu, I feel like they needed to be out there just because they have not played together in real time. So I think that they needed to be out there. The Saints didn't play Paulson Adebo or Marshawn Lattimore because those guys know how to work together cohesively. They're a team, right? So, TJ, my only concern on defense during preseason was the D-line really didn't get home much to get to the quarterback. Just my opinion. What's your opinion on that? Well, I do agree. There was very little pressure on the quarterback. They look good at stopping a run. I'm talking about the first team. When I seen Cam Jordan out there, and some of the guys that was going to be featured in that starting rotation, they look pretty good, man. They forced the 3 and out, and they got down the field the way they were supposed to. So I'm not looking at Tano Passanio as the starter and what he going to be capable of because he's not a starter. I'm more concerned about what the starting team is going to do when their number is called. And from what I seen them stopping a run. I seen them getting pressure on the quarterback, and that's what you're looking for. I mean, it don't surprise me that some of these guys like Peyton Turner and all that aren't getting home. Because once again, they're not in the starting rotation. They still got some growing to do. They still got some developing to do. They still got some things they need to work out. So I'm more concerned about guys like Ayamada, Cam Jordan, Davenport, guys like that that's going to be starting on the team. Excuse me. Says, hey, TJ and the Who Dat fam. What's going on, Carla? Thank you for being here. As long as we get rid of Traquan Smith, I'm all right. Nolan Finest, I'm going to be honest with you. I thought for quite some time, that he was going to be on the team. I still feel this way, but I don't feel as confident as I did when I first started talking about Traquan Smith. Because if I'm being serious, if I'm being real, if I'm being 100, the only reason why Traquan Smith will stay on this team based on what he did in preseason is because he's been here and he's their guy. They drafted him, right? I think that's the only reason. Like, he didn't play better than Kirk Merritt. He didn't play better than Dejon Dixon, when it comes to being a pass catcher. He hasn't. The only reason I say that he will stay on this team would be because they're familiar with him. And he's one of those guys that can do the dirty work. Right? Now, that's what it is. Like, he's a really good blocker. He's not going to be a primary receiver. We've seen the Saints, the way that they run their offense. They like wide receivers that can block. That's the reason why Christian Hogan got so much playing time. You know what I'm saying? Like, he barely caught anything, but he was just out there blocking. So I think that might help him. But if I'm looking at guys, I don't know nothing about either guy, Kirk Merritt or Traquan Smith. I'm keeping Kirk Merritt. I am. I just feel like if Traquan Smith stay on this team is because they like him and they like his hustle as far as him blocking and if somebody get a turnover, something like that, he is the one that's gunning guys down, making tackles. So maybe he need to be looked at for special teams. Maybe Traquan Smith can be a good special teams player. I don't know. Do you think Dennis Allen give up the reins versus the RPO? I don't know. Probably not. These coaches, they have egos, man. And when they're known for something, they're not going to back down. Like, you don't think Dennis Allen knows that he struggles with the RPO? I mean, if he doesn't know, the media are going to bring it to his attention for him to know. So I think that he's going to take that as a challenge. So I don't expect for him to give up anything. I expect for him to work with Chris Richard, Chris Richard and Ryan Nielsen to try to come up with a game plan. But I think he's going to be calling the defensive plays. Man, I really appreciate that. How can I get in contact with you? You can email me at stateofthesaints@gmail.com. That's stateofthesaints@gmail.com. Or you can follow me on Twitter, TJAYJones8, and you can just inbox me there if you want to get in touch with me. Period. I'm serious. Like, I know some people don't think I'm just saying that, but I'm serious. I'm still trying to figure out how Juwan Johnson dove into Penning that way. It was like he couldn't see where he was going. I'm not sure. I don't know what happened. I don't know if he got pushed but it looked nasty, man. Dudes get hurt at any time. There was a player who tore his Achilles during his pro day. Many players tear ACLs during their drills in camp. Yeah, I think it was the linebacker from Michigan, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, he tore his Achilles, didn't he? Yeah, he tore his Achilles during his pro day, which sucked because he was going to be a first-round pick. I felt so bad for the guy. And that coach or that media guy, whoever it was, like, they were just a trash human being. Like, they just walked right past him, like, didn't even try to help the guy. But I guarantee you he going to use that guy to try to elevate his portfolio. Well, I worked with him. He was going to be a first-round pick, right? But no, he don't have, like, no type of empathy for the guy whatsoever. But going to use him, though, right? Going to be like, I worked with him, and to try to recruit somebody to come to the school or try to build his resume if he's trying to get another coaching or media opportunity. Like, we know how it go. Keeping it real, Who Dat Sports Podcast enjoyed you on Sunday, and Zach. Yeah, man, it was good stuff right there. Good stuff. TJ Jameis has worked hard on his short and intermediate game this all season. Focus on getting the ball out in 3 seconds or less. That will keep that will help keep him safe, in my opinion. Take deep shots when there. I think that it helped him because he had no choice. Like he couldn't plant, throw the ball down the field. Anybody that played quarterback or threw a football, you know that you have to plant your foot, and it's a lot of power that's coming from your thighs and your knees, down to what I'm saying, your calves, in order for you to sling that thing, So he couldn't do that. So all he can really do is kind of stay stationary and be able to work on that short game. So sometimes, in situations like this, guys end up becoming better because they're kind of limited at that time, and because he was limited for a few months, being able to plant on that foot, on that knee, because of the knee, I think that it helped his short game because he was able to work on it. He can put emphasis on it. So that was good. Hey, TJ, I was on the Falcons podcast a couple of days ago. These fools called you a clown because you believe the Saints will go 13-4 with a new coach. What you have to say about that? Who I'm talking, who was it? Like who was it? Like I don't follow many Atlanta Falcons podcasts, so I'm pretty sure like I don't even know who they are. So, and who cares? Like at the end of the day, like I noticed something. Like some people, they get on these shows and they try to be like what they see on TV because they feel like that's what's going to generate like some level of buzz. I mean, I'm not like that. Like I can genuinely be myself, and we built this podcast. So I don't know, man. I don't even like who was it? Like, I'm really mad at though. We are having a roundtable discussion on Wednesday, September 7th. Would love to have you join us if you are free. Probably won't be able to do that because I'll be coming back from Las Vegas that day. So I won't be able to be on there on that particular day. I'll be headed back during that time. But I'll make sure that I check it out, and see what you all are doing. The Falcons podcast with 13 people on the live. Look, I'm not knocking anybody with that, because I understand where people have to start from. I remember when they only had like 2 people looking at this, so I'm not knocking anybody for trying to build content and trying to build up a following. I'm not, I mean, it's their opinion, if that's how they feel, if you think that I'm a clown, then okay. I mean, I've heard worse in my life. And, I just find it hilarious, that it comes from a Falcon podcast who the epitome of the clown show for the last, 3 to 4 years. Man, as soon as I heard the news about Trevor, my heart sunk. I really wanted to see this guy give her against some of the best defensive linemen. Yeah, but he still has the opportunity. He still has a chance. Yeah, he still has a chance to do that. Let's see. If Adebo becomes a Pro Bowl caliber player, he will be the greatest value draft pick in Sean Payton era, just as good or even better than Kamara. Oops, I forgot. Marcus Colston was a 7th-round pick. Well, look, those 3rd-round picks seem to be working out for the Saints, right? You got Paulson Adebo, you got Alvin Kamara, you got Trey Hendrickson. They seem like they've been working out. Big Facts said that video one more time. I don't know what video you're talking about. I guess I don't know. Which one you talking about? I assume you're talking about this one. Let's see. That's how many Falcon fans gonna be at the week 1 game. Tino laughing. It's gonna be a glorious Saints home game, like it always is. Like we all know that, for the most part, Falcon fans' love is conditional. For the most part, not all of them, but for the most part, it's pretty conditional. Like you're not gonna hear them really talking if the team is struggling, but they're gonna let you know how good their team is when they winning, right? What is the week 2 curse? They said we normally lose week 2, haven't won since 2018 and week 2 games. Does that mean the Bucks might get us? No. I don't buy into all that superstitious stuff. It just happens. It just happens. I don't like you can make a stat about anything. This guy, if he throws to the right side 10% of the time, it might go over somebody's head. Like we can make a stat about basically anything just to try to justify something. Look, this is Dennis Allen team. This is a different Saints team. This is a different year. So I'm moving accordingly. I thought Jawan was the reason Penny got hurt. Maybe he was. Maybe I thought it was Landry. Maybe it was Jawan Johnson. Pete stepping on his toes a split second before the hit, went back to watch, and you could see Pete step on his toes. Well, that sucks. That sucks right there, man. That's unfortunate. Friendly fire. I'm going to stroll down a little bit. Let's see. He said, whatever Falcon podcast you heard, ignore it. They still stuck on blowing a 25-point lead in the Super Bowl. Like I said, man, I really don't care. I really don't. Let's see. Many are called and few are chosen. Kingston. 28-3 will be forever remembered. Yeah, because it happened on the biggest stage. So it's not just Saints fans. It's and then it happened when Tom Brady was the quarterback. No, they're gonna let that live forever. What up, TJ? Just got here. With our left tackle injured, do you think we go 10 deep at the offensive line position? And also, do you see the article about the Patriots' Isaiah Wynn being a trade target for us? Yeah, I heard about that, man. I heard about Isaiah Wynn being a trade target. It was more so like why he should be more so than he will be. Yeah, I think the Saints need to get a little bit more depth on the offensive line. And I think they need to improve, their depth, because we seen last year, like they had a lot of issues with that. So you don't want that to repeat itself. So yes, they need to improve that. Man, TJ, this is a special team this year. I hope you're right. TJ, that video one more time. I already played it. Let's see. TJ, do me a favor and never play that Dennis Allen walk video again. Falcons have their own problems. Not sure they need to worry about other teams. Yeah, it's amazing, man, because I guess I'm pretty flattered because I don't think I ever played like a Falcon or have I? Have I ever played? Like, I don't think I ever played like a rival team's video on this channel unless like that person was here. So I guess I got to be flattered because, maybe because, we one of the best Saints podcast out there, I guess I got to take that as a compliment because I have to basically do research in order for me to kind of find out about the Falcons because I don't care enough for me to be looking at them. But we all know why. It's because we're the standard. We're the standard. They know what it is, man. Most of the teams in the NFC South know what it is, even Bucks fans. That's why Bucks fans try so desperately to try to come at Saints fans because they want what we have, right? They can't really stand on their own too. It's like they want to have that level of attention. They want to have that level of respect. So they'll probably come, they'll come over to Saints channels. They'll come over to Saints fans because Saints fans love isn't just conditional. Like we love this team. Like this team can not win a game and we still have love for this team, and when this team like is down or this team is like going through a hardship, we still cheering. And I think that's the biggest issue that some of these other fan bases have is the fact that they can't understand. Like we ain't just willing just to jump off the ledge or just quit and give up because a team is going through hard times. So even if our team is going through hard times, like we kind of just look at them like they're crazy if they're talking about them, right? That's just kind of like what we do. Like we just kind of shake it off and keep it moving. And I just think that they get upset that we as Saints fans aren't just hurt by the situation. Like we're not embarrassed by a team in no stretch of the imagination. No matter what issue that happens, like we still don't sit up here and just be sitting there dwelling on it or throwing our jerseys in the trash and all that kind of stuff that you be seeing like some of these other fan bases do. Our love for the team is what annoys these other fans out here, in my honest opinion. I just think that the love that we have for the Saints, they just can't understand it because they don't have that type of love for their own team. The F Birds was okay in preseason, but going to finish at the bottom of the bottom. Trash. I don't know where they're going to finish at. I don't know where they'll finish. I don't. Like, I'm not going to say they're going to suck because, I mean, they haven't played a game. And there's many times where I've seen teams that we think are not going to be good end up being pretty good. So I'm not going to say that they're going to suck. But I'm just saying, like, I just think that the Saints are a better football team. I think they're a better football team than the Falcons. That video brings me to tears every time. Ladder dog, one of the best in NFL, maybe yes, but still a long way to go. Yeah, I mean, Marshawn Lattimore, one of the best in the league, man. I just hope we can shake off the rust and score on the first drive. Hope how you feel about Brady being number one. I think it's an absolute joke. And I'm not saying this because I'm hating. I'm just saying based on the production and how the quarterback position was played last year, he shouldn't have been number one. I would put Josh Allen ahead of him. All right, I would put Mahomes in front of him. I would put Rodgers in front of him. The only reason why Tom Brady was number one on the NFL Top 100 is because at the time of voting, he was retired. And that was his send-off. That was his swan song. That was all the players and everybody else that voted, giving him his standing ovation and giving him his flowers as he was on his way out the door. There is no way in the world, I honestly and humbly believe, that if Tom Brady did not announce his retirement, that he would have been number one on NFL Top 100. That is like Tom Brady is arguably one of the greatest quarterbacks of all times. In a lot of people's eyes, he is the greatest quarterback of all time. Does he belong in the top 10? Absolutely. But is he the best quarterback in the NFL as of right now, as he stands at the time being 44 years old when he played last year? Absolutely not. No way, no how. Right? I mean, I get it. I get why they did it, but he didn't deserve it. That was just, them giving him his flowers on the way out. And that's not hate. That's just a fact. Like, go back and watch like some of these other quarterbacks. Somebody go back and watch Josh Allen versus Patrick Mahomes in that playoff game. Somebody tell me that those two guys don't belong in the top 5, top 10. Like, not top 3. I don't believe that. TJ Jones, is that a dab at Skip Bayless? Because Skip Bayless throws his jersey in the trash can. A TJ Jones and the chat, is Skip Bayless really a Dallas Cowboy fan or his Brady lover? I think he both. Nah, there wasn't no shot at Skip Bayless. I mean, I see fans throwing jerseys in the trash. I don't think it just stops at Skip Bayless. I'm happy to wake up to SOTS live after a great night of drinking. Well, I'm glad that I can help, man. The Bucs fan trying to make the Saints a rivalry. It's not a rivalry. How can you be a rivalry if a team is beating you 4 out of the last 5 times, 7 straight times in a regular season? Like, how is that a rivalry? There is no rivalry. Like, Bruce Arians even came out and said it ain't even close. Like, your own head coach from last year came out and said it ain't even close. So why would y'all even think that it's close? Like, it's not even close. Like, they have one more Super Bowl than any other team in the South, but as far as the rivalry is concerned, it ain't even close. It ain't even close, man. So that's a waste of time. Like, I don't even sit up there and like just go back and forth with no Bucs fan. Like, it's a waste of time. That's what I said. TJ Brady did not earn number one last year. They had to be pulling from other years. Yeah, that was his swan song. Like I said, he retired, and he was retired at the time, so they just wanted to make sure that they gave him his flowers. That was it. Not saying that he didn't belong in the top 10. He did. He had a really good season last year, but number one? No. Then why haven't they won in 2 years during the regular season? Good point. Good point. Let's see. Lattimore at 89 is disrespectful. I agree. He should have been higher, especially based on like the power rankings of how they put him, like right next to Jalen Ramsey as one of the top corners in the league. So that add with that addition, it ain't adding up. It ain't adding up. You can tell the truth on Saints Breeze. Tell the truth on Saints Breeze. What we talking about with that, Barbara? Telling the truth on Drew Brees? What's the truth? And my house has been to a Super Bowl at 1-1, and my homeboy has been to another Super Bowl and lost. So he's been to 2 Super Bowls and a very good job, my homeboy. If we talking about Mahomes, yeah, Mahomes the best quarterback in the league. But we talking about talent, like he's the best. Josh Allen is up there too. Okay, Josh Allen has taken leaps and huge leaps. You know, I mean, you guys look at where he was in that draft. You know, and out of those quarterbacks that came out with him, he's better than all of them. The rest of them struggling. What he came out with, Josh Rosen came out with did he come out with Baker Mayfield? Yeah, he came out with Baker Mayfield, came out with Sam Darnold. And all those guys are trying to struggle to try to find somewhere to play. Right? So you have to say he won. TJ, do you play fantasy football? Yeah, from time to time. Like I play. Sometimes I get kind of sidetracked and I forget about, putting my players in place each week, but I play from time to time. I get mad with the way the Saints play sometimes, but I still love them all. Yeah, I mean, we all do. I mean, but it happens, right? Noodle on Breeze. All right, man, we're not going to get on Drew Brees. Drew Brees is gone. All right, let's let the legend live. No need to pour water on a drowning man, right? You know what I'm saying? Towards the twilight of his career, he gave us way more great moments than he gave us bad moments. We're going to leave it at that. He has not been a starting quarterback for the Saints. What is going on, 2 years, 2 seasons? So let's just let Drew Brees, ride off into the sunset. Let's focus on what the Saints are now. Truth isn't disrespectful. It's simple truth. But, what do we gain from that? It's over with. It's over with. Like, what can you gain from talking about Drew Brees at this point? Nothing. Drew Brees isn't here anymore. Like, we need to be talking about the quarterbacks that's actually in the building. Drew Brees has already cemented his legacy as the greatest New Orleans Saint to ever put on the black and gold. So we can talk about the last couple of years of his career if you want to, but how is that going to benefit this team now? And it's easy for us to look back on the twilight of his career and start talking about those things. But now that the guy's career is over with, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. We wouldn't even have this pride. We wouldn't even have this love that we have for this team if it wasn't for this dude. So we talking about the last couple of years of his career versus 13 years that he gave us of great moments, leading this team into the playoffs or close to the playoffs when they had no business even in the conversation because the defense couldn't stop a nosebleed, couldn't stop traffic with a stop sign. You know what I'm saying? Like, couldn't stop in the name of love if they were the Supremes. So why are we sitting up here talking about the last couple of years of this guy's career when obviously what we need to be looking at the front office, because they had to realize that he was going to have to hang it up eventually, and they didn't put a team around him until 2018 when he was in the twilight of his career. So we can have that conversation. But I am not going to disrespect Drew Brees anymore. At the time, I had to call it how I see it. But now that his career is over, we would not be here. And we would not have this love for our team the way that we do so strongly if it wasn't for number 9. So we can talk about the last couple of years of his career, but what would that prove? What would it prove? Absolutely nothing. We can talk about him all day, but it's not going to prove anything. Jameis Winston is the starting quarterback of the Saints. Andy Dalton is the backup quarterback of the Saints. So that's what we need to be talking about, not what Drew Brees did toward the end of his career. Okay, next topic. Exactly. 2 years. In fact, Drew Brees is not our starter in 2 years. Even me and homeboy has gave people bad moments. Every quarterback. Man, Drew Brees is the greatest New Orleans Saint of all time. And it just shows you how spoiled some of y'all Saints fans are. Because maybe some of y'all don't understand because maybe y'all was too young and y'all didn't understand. Y'all probably was climbing under your mama's table or climbing under your grandmother's sofa couch or something. But this dude was a beast. This dude was an absolute beast. This dude gave credibility to New Orleans. And anybody my age Like if you're in your 30s, 40s, you know what I'm talking about. You know, you wish you could find a guy that can go 2 games without having a turnover. 3, you know what I'm saying? Like 1 game at times. But this man gave the city credibility. He made the Saints one of the most elite teams in the NFC. And yet some of y'all just sitting up here talking about the last 2 years of his career because you were too young to understand where this dude actually bought this franchise from. Man, talk about something current. I talk about what's in front of me, bruh. People asking me questions. People asking me questions, I'm answered. I'm in that category, and I'm 38. I get what you're saying. I do. You know what I'm saying? Saba, look, I understand what you're saying. I echo your sentiments, but I think some people need to hear that. Maybe you're in that category, man. You're in that category. You like, man, you already know. Like, you get it. I don't know how old you are, but you're like, yeah, it's blasphemous even talking about. Do you think the Saints should go after Alex Leatherwood? I already mentioned that. That was at the top. I said if they didn't have Trevor Penning, I probably would. But in this particular situation, I think you need to go with a seasoned veteran because making a commitment to a guy like Alex Leatherwood means that you want to pay him in the long term. And, you know, this guy's going to be a tackle. So this guy has plenty more years of football ahead of him. And you have Trevor Penning. So why would you trade for a left tackle? You already got a really good elite right tackle. And you already got a guy with a lot of promise in Penning. So why would you trade for a guy young, you know, that young and got that much football ahead of him and could be on the cusp of being something special? You already got that in Penning. So I would go with a veteran. We went to the NFC CG Drew first year with us. Yep, NFC championship game. I remember how average the Saints were in the 90s with the one good year with Jim Haslett. The Saints are a premier franchise now thanks to Breeze and Payton. Yep, it's easy for us to look back and say, oh, man, they cost us this, they cost us that. But the reason why they, you know, I can remember when we wouldn't have these conversations. And you also have to take into account why you feel the way that you do. Like, why are you so mad that the Saints lose? Like, it used to be like debt, taxes, and the Saints losing on Sunday. Like, now it's like when they lose, you ticked off because you feel like they should win every game. Like, it used to be like, man, the Saints won before these guys got here. So we should have the State of the Saints gathering sometime this year. Yeah, man, I plan on going to a few football games, so I would love to, like, interact with, you know, some people that watch the show and, you know, and be on here. I would love to do that. See, I'm 32. I love Breeze. I remember moments like the Cleveland Browns Hail Mary. I know, look, exactly. That's why you, like, move on. I was like, when he said that, it's like, man, move on, because I knew what the business is. When people say that, it's like, man, come on, man. It's ridiculous, like, to know that. But here's what we need to understand. Once again, you have people in their 20s watching this show. Like, we have a nice little demographic, 25 to 35, that's here. When you're like in that age, you only remember prosperity from the Saints. You kind of remember the bad days from your uncle or your cousin that's older than you or something, or your sister. You really don't know that much, you know, like you only know really prosperity of the Saints, unless you like a historian and just loves football. I'm gonna take a few more and then we're gonna get up out of here. It says, I'll be ripping them. Thank you very much for the $2. Says, Trevor can't fart at the line anyway, no big loss. Now, that's a huge loss. That's a huge loss and a huge man. He was getting better. TJ, best thing that happened to the Saints, hands down, number 9, best to ever do it. Brooks, Abel, Steve Walsh, Wade Wilson. Should I keep going? Nah, stop right there. Giving me bad flashbacks. Giving me some bad flashbacks. Let's see, last time I bet on the Saints, the Carl Taylor Mary, man, that was 98. That was terrible. TJ, I'm 23, going on 24, and remember the Katrina days. Yeah, I mean, when you're young like that, man, I mean, if you're like a historian, and, you know, you probably remember that. But speaking of which, that's a good segue. Nobody is greater. Today is the 17th anniversary of Hurricane Katrina. Y'all know it happened back in 2005. It was a day that we'll never forget. I can remember like growing up in New Orleans, walking the streets of New Orleans, man, catching that bus, catching the RTA, catching the Galvez, catching that Almanasta. And, I can remember growing up, hurricanes were a big thing, but it was almost like the boy who cried wolf, right? You would pack up, you would gas up, you buy all this stuff off the shelves, and then you'll, in my case, head to Mississippi, head to Vicksburg, go chill out at a hotel, chill out with a family member that'll open up their house for you, and then only to see a hurricane just kind of backtrack or go around New Orleans. And that happened like a few times in my life. I want to say like maybe 3 or 4 times I've seen hurricanes that just kind of was supposed to be terrible and supposed to wipe out the city. So at the time I was going into my sophomore year at Dillard University. And I remember I didn't want to go. I didn't want to go to Mississippi. I had some friends that I made during that time. And I told my mom, I'm going to go to Shreveport with them, because I was staying on campus at the time. And I can remember my mom, like I had a knock on the door. I'm like, who this is? It was my mom. Like she didn't tell me she was coming or nothing. She said, get all your stuff and get up out of here. She said, get what you need. So I got it. I ended up getting everything that I needed or whatever. So I was mad, man. I was ticked off, man, because I was like, okay, man, I want to stay with my friends and stuff like that. And I remember riding in my uncle's white Lincoln Town car. And it was during a time where they opened up both sides of the highway, right? And I thought it was cool because we was actually riding on the left side of the highway where traffic was coming into New Orleans. And I remember being in traffic for I don't know how long and falling asleep. And when I woke up, all 4 windows of my uncle's car was down. And I remember like the air blowing in my face. And I'm like, man, why are we doing this? This is a waste of time. But little did I know that would be the last time that I would ever reside in New Orleans. And I think about losing everything. I still to this day I think about how my wife has an opportunity, how she has the opportunity to take our son to Montgomery, Alabama, Tuskegee, Alabama, where she lived throughout her childhood, and she can like show him different places. Like when I go home with my wife, when she goes home, she shows me all these different places that she stayed, all these different places that she used to hang out and schools she went to. I don't have that luxury. And that's the only thing that I think about at times like this. Like my grandmother's house, where we mostly stay most of the time, is gone. My elementary school, from my knowledge, is dilapidated. It's still up, but there's no school going on right there. My middle school, still there, but it's under a different name. My high school looks completely different, right? I ended up going to Nichols or Douglas, and I went to Carver High School. But all these different memories that I have are gone. And they're like embedded in my head. It's almost like if you ever seen the ending of Titanic, and the old lady that was telling the story, she dies and her spirit goes down into the bowels of the ship. And as as they start like going further and further back, it starts to like open up, and it goes back to the times where the Titanic was actually fully structured. And she was, you had Jack waiting for, on the stairs. It's kind of like that same situation, but in my mind, I see a vacant lot when I pull up, but I can still see my grandmother's lawn. Like I can still, like she used to plant flowers. They had like this metal gate, and you open that gate and you walk up the stairs. There were 4 stairs, and she had like this metal screen door, and you open that, and that's the living room. And I can just remember like nobody was really supposed to go in there unless it was like Thanksgiving or something. Then you had a kitchen and then a den. I mean, I can just envision that. And even though it just sucks that I won't be able to share that like with my son, for him to be able to do that. It was a tough time, but the people in New Orleans are resilient, and no matter where you are, no matter where you live, I don't care if you went back to the city, if you're in Florida, if you're in some part of Mississippi, Alabama, that city is ingrained inside of you. You know, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. When certain things come up, when I mention stuff like Patton hot sausages, king cake, McKenzie's, you know, it's embedded inside of you. And I miss staying there I really do. You know, I miss those moments. You know, I really do. I really miss those moments. And I wish that a part of my childhood, something that I can just truly remember, would still be there, so I can have something to show to my son besides just memories like, I just shared with you all today. But, 17 years later, we look back at that moment and we think about how our lives, were never going to be the same, but we were able to build. Some people got in better situations than they were in before, and they were able to grow. And you also probably learned a lot about yourself as far as you being able to go into uncharted waters and survive. And I ended up going to Jackson State. And I thought I was just going to stay there for a semester, and I ended up staying there for the duration of my college life. I was able to, go to Dallas, Texas. I was able to, live in different places and stuff like that. Got out here to South Carolina. Probably, as bad as it was, there's a silver lining to this dark cloud. And I hate to get all emotional about it, but how can you not? It's just something about the city. Like, seriously, it's something about the city when you step foot in that city, and it's like you never left, right? It's like, you still know where the shortcuts at, right? You still know where that bridge at that you walked across. You still know where that bus stop at. Like, you basically can kind of walk around your neighborhoods with your eyes closed. And I appreciate those memories. I thank God for those memories. I thank God for those moments. I thank God for the friends that I had. But, the one thing that no matter where you are in the world, no matter where you are, like, I don't care where you're listening to this at, right? The Saints brought us together. It brought us together. That year, 2005, was horrible. 2006, a lot of people was displaced because the city was still trying to repair itself. But the Saints went on this magical run all the way to the NFC Championship game. First off, that's why I go back to like some of my seasoned Saints veterans out here. There was a moment we never thought would happen. I can remember it's like sitting in my dorm room watching that game. And it was like this team was like, had the entire city on their back and took us on this magical ride that we never thought that we can envision, and then instilled that level of hope that we needed at the time. And that's why I love this team so much. It's not so much about my love for sports, which I love sports, but it's just the fact of what this team actually means to the city. Like, this team constantly during adversity and tough times, like, put our emotions on their back, and they go out there and they perform. And for like 3 hours or 4 hours, wherever how long the game goes, we can escape the realities of our life. And for that, I'm always going to be appreciative of this team. But I'll never forget Hurricane Katrina. So for all those people out there that, remember that day that was part of that day that lost loved ones on that day, my prayers go out to you. But that's just something that we always going to remember. And it's something that we should never forget. But this has been a State of the Saints podcast. Thank y'all so much for being a part of the State of the Saints podcast. Really do appreciate that. Hate to end on such a somber note, but I feel like that's, it's necessary to kind of talk about this and leave it at that, especially such a historical event that took place, a real tragedy that took place. But I feel like it's necessary for us to end it here. For those that remember those moments, remember those moments made you who you were today. Like it helped you, you know what I'm saying? Like you will never forget them, but in a lot of cases they build you up, and it also like gives you something that you need to kind of, go the extra mile. So for all my people out there that caught that bus, walked across that bridge, they ate that po' boy, New Orleans still forever going to be in our hearts, man. So shouts out to everybody. Be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel, which is youtube.com. Search The State of the Saints podcast. Previous episodes available on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Anchor FM. You all have a good morning, noon, night, whenever you're checking out this podcast. And like always, all I got to say is